Hello everyone, welcome back to Bits and Bob's Divination. My name is Caitlin, and today we're going to be diving into your magical, spiritual, and psychic gifts and abilities, no matter where you are within your practice. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Alright, so welcome back, my beautiful kindred spirits, and anyone new who may be joining us here today with your magical spirit as well, as we are going to be diving into these fun, exciting piles, as I mentioned, for not only your psychic gifts, so your clairs and things like that, but also into your magical gifts if you practice magic, and also into your spiritual gifts, so where the foundation and changes are within your spiritual and spiritual side. So no matter where you are within your practice right now, if you are a beginner, intermediate, advanced, if you're going back to the basics or moving forward, wherever you are within your practice, this would be useful to you. So do feel free to play around with this and keep what resonates, leave what doesn't, as this is going to be a collective reading. And I also want to just mention here at the beginning as well that if the things that I bring up don't resonate with you, that's totally cool. This is coming from the perspective of a witch as I am. I'm a witch. I don't have a specific religion. I'm very spiritual though, and I do work with specific guides. I am a eco art green witch, so that's kind of my background. So that's kind of what will probably come up for me naturally, but I am open to all types of magic and I love to learn all different types, even if I'm not practicing them. So I do want to keep this very well-rounded, and I hope that does come through for you and you get little nuggets of information. So before we look at the piles here though, I do want to just quickly mention as well the different ways you can support this space if you'd like to, as this is a small little channel and all of the support that comes through is really helpful, and I love to support you guys through the different work that I do. So do feel free to check out the Kindred tip jar down below. You can also check out my Instagram community where you can connect with the community even further and connect more with me if you have questions about your practice. And you can also check out the snail mail readings that I do for private personal readings if you want to expand upon this reading or look at other types of readings that you'd be interested in. Do feel free to check that out down below for a private snail mail reading. And you can also check out the magical paper that I create for spells and rituals. Right now I have Mabon paper, but it does extend all the way through the autumnal season, so you can check out the sets that I have down below for that, which are great alternatives to fire magic and wanting to kind of connect more with the earth and those elements. So do feel free to check that all out down below, and we're going to go ahead and look at your piles. So for each of the piles, as I've done in the past for these types of readings, I did an intuitive drawing that I kind of just wheeled up for all of you, and also have a specific crystal that you can also look into in case that's more what floats your boat. So here for pile number 1, we have this specific intuitive message showing up here. You can look at it from multiple angles and really let your intuition play around with it. You can pause and gaze at it, do a little bit of scrying if you'd like, even to really play around with it. But we also have this specific crystal in case that resonates for you with this piece of Labradorite. All of the piles are of Labradorite, but this is the specific one here for pile number 1. For pile number 2 here, we have this specific intuitive message showing up here for you. This is what it looks like. Here is it from multiple angles. And as always, feel free to pause and gaze at it if you'd like. But that is your intuitive message, as well as your specific crystal here of Labradorite as well. All of the piles are Labradorite, but this is your specific Labradorite for pile 2. And then last but not least, here is pile number 3. I'll go ahead and show you your intuitive message here first. So here is your intuitive drawing. And then for your specific piece of Labradorite, we have this one. So it flashes, I think right here, somewhere over here. There you go. And there's its more orange and blue flash. So that is group number 3. So before you start heading off to your piles and the timestamps, I like to invite you to take a deep, cleansing, grounding breath, especially for this one with how much energy is being thrown around here. So let's go ahead and take that deep, cleansing breath here now. So as always, there's no right or wrong way to choose your piles here. You can choose all 3 of the piles, play around between them, especially with this one with so many different magical abilities showing up. I would definitely suggest playing around with them and seeing what comes through for you, but there really is no right or wrong way. All of the timestamps will be down below in the description alongside the chapter marks of this video. And as I mentioned, if you want to support this space even further, do feel free to check out the Instagram community down below, the Kindred tip jar, the private snail mail readings, and the magical papers that I create. So all of that will be down below, and we're going to go ahead and get started here with pile number 1. Hello Group 1, if you've decided to choose this intuitive drawing as well as this specific piece of Labradorite, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to go ahead and set it down right here for you so you can see it during your reading today, as we are going to be playing around with a lot of fun different oracles and ideas here, utilizing the charms. We're also going to be playing around with this little tray again for both the charms and the letter tiles to really look into a lot of fun intuitive messages. We're going to be using several different oracle decks, a Lenormand deck, and we're also going to be using the Everyday Witch Tarot, which I love to use for this. I know it's very on point, but that's why it works so well. So if you're interested in everything that I am using here, all of it will be down in the description, so you can check it out yourself if you're interested. But yeah, let's go ahead and get right into this, because I'm just beaming with magical excited energy for you all. I'm so excited. Whenever I do these videos, they're just really fun and full of just that magical energy and excitement of my inner child. So I hope you guys are feeling that too, just that mysterious fun energy and that lighthearted play that we're going to have here. As this is a collective reading, not all of these messages are probably going to hit 100%, so do feel free to use your own discernment, take what resonates, leave what doesn't, play around with things that maybe you hadn't thought about before. As I said in the intro, this is for both advanced, beginners, intermediate, anywhere you are on your spiritual or magical journey. We're going to play around with that because it does go through ebbs and flows. I've been practicing for over 3 years, officially, but I've been doing it kind of my whole life. So, I've gone through many ebbs and flows with my magical practice, and it changes a lot all the time. So yours might be changing too. So without me rambling too much here at the beginning, do feel free to get settled with some water, especially for this one, since we're going to be really diving into a lot of really deep stuff. It's nice to just ground with a bit of water and chill out. But you're welcome to get settled in any way you'd like. So feel free to send in your energy, and we're going to see what magical gifts, spiritual abilities, and what elements and all sorts of things that you're working with. So let's see what's coming in for the magical gifts, abilities, and spiritual side of yourself that's coming forward. So we have the 9 of Wands first off. Lots of wands showing up here in this card. So first off, immediately I'm getting this feeling that if you felt like you had to follow a specific aesthetic, and I'll probably talk about this even more, but immediately I got this feeling maybe you've been wanting to follow witchcraft, or you've been wanting to go into this kind of stuff, but there is a specific aesthetic, right? That, you wear the pointed hat, you have the wand, you have all of these specific things, the crystal ball, the tarot cards, right? And maybe you're feeling like you have to stick to some sort of specific aesthetic, and it's just kind of telling you right away that you don't have to do that. That if wands don't work for you, pointing your finger or using your magic in another way to direct it is totally fine. I personally thought at the beginning that I needed to follow a specific aesthetic, or just it's fun. But I found I hardly ever use a wand, so if that's something you're into, feel free to continue doing it. But for those of you who felt that, that's just kind of a message for you. So let's see what else is coming through with the 9 of Wands and other things within your spiritual and magical gifts and abilities. So we also have we have the 10 of Wands, another showcase about that wand thing. So that's very specific to a few of you, and I think that it's really wanting you to know. We also have something about going and moving uphill. We have 2 wand cards as well, and both of them seem to be kind of struggling. So I'm getting this feeling that if you felt also that fire magic was sort of your thing, because wands are related to the fire suit, maybe you've always wanted to do candle magic, or you've been wanting to do bonfires, or working with the sun possibly, or other really fiery type planetary associations, or even herbs, then maybe that's just not your place right now, or you're moving out of that side of your spiritual practice or your magical practice, and that might be where it's evolving and changing because it feels a bit like an uphill battle. So that's just something to keep in mind, that maybe a different type of your magic or a different element might be better suited for you and your magic. But we're going to look for one more card here and we'll be moving to the next one. This is going to be hopefully a pretty fast-paced reading because it's mostly going to be giving you ideas, as this is so collective. There's going to be a lot of different things coming through. But as I said, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Okay, I don't know about those three. They felt like they just flipped. So maybe it's this one. All right, so we have the Wheel of Fortune showing up. The Wheel of Fortune has this feeling of cycles. So you might be working with different types of cycles in your magic, and it might be something, like I said, maybe fire is just sort of cycling out, maybe because of the season that you're in, or because of where you live, or something like that. Something is cycling out within your magic, and I feel like it has something to do with the fire element. So like I said, things that are related to candle magic, related to that type of aesthetic, or trying to utilize the passionate creative side maybe just isn't your thing right now. But instead, with the Wheel of Fortune, we do have more of this feeling of a different cycle coming in. So you might be working with cycles of the moon, which is more related to the water, which is very opposite of fire. So it might be that you're moving to the opposite in that kind of elemental side. Otherwise, I am getting this feeling of the Wheel of Fortune in the divinatory sense, and that maybe you're working with planetary magic. I felt that earlier, that maybe you are interested in either working with the days of the week and which planets they're associated with. Maybe you are interested in possibly working with astrology, as that's another magical sort of element or spiritual element that maybe you're learning with different aspects, learning and growing in your astrology practice and understandings and research. So that might be coming in as well. So that's another cycle. The sun also goes through a cycle, but that cycle is much quicker, much faster. And this feels more showcasing a feeling of needing to slow down. And so thinking of practices that are like with water, so not needing to go to, if you're going to start moving into water, like I said, the opposite of fire, I would suggest probably practices that are less fast-paced as well. So the moon obviously takes a month to go through, so that would be a really good option. Otherwise, taking ritual baths or going to rivers or natural bodies of water to do your magic, using water in your practice. You might be interested in using specific types of charged waters. So a lot of people know of moon water, where you'd put the water out by like your windowsill outside, or you can just sort of bring in and draw in that energy towards like a vessel of water that you'd be charging, and you would then call it full moon water or first quarter moon water, or whatever moon that you're charging it under. You can also do that with other types of waters, right? So you don't have to do it only with moon. You could do it with sun water. As I said, that felt more specific to that fire element. So I would probably recommend more things like river water or slower kind of waters that you'd be working with, versus things that feel really electrical and intense, like storm waters or waters that are related to weather magic. So I am definitely getting that elemental feeling. I also am getting a lot of, like I said, with that burnout energy, burning through a bunch of your magic, burning through and having to kind of move upward, this upward battle. So for those of you who are just starting with magic, and also be a message to slow down in your research, to really digest the things that you're learning before you kind of like skip forward 10 pages. And if you're more advanced in your magic too, it could just be that this is kind of an ebb versus a flow for you right now. And that's okay too, and to kind of respect where you are in your magical practice. And if that means that you're just taking a bit of a break, that's totally cool. I mean, we've all go through our ebbs and flows with everything in life. And instead of having it be a magical block, just think of it as a magical ebb, and then you're going to come back up that valley. So it's okay to want to take a little bit of time off, or to kind of remove yourself from it for a little while. So I want to look a little further, as always, because I've already been talking for, 10 minutes now? So let's go ahead and see a little bit further. So we're going to see what's coming in with the spell casting oracle. So this can give you information on maybe certain kinds of spell work or workings that you could be doing. As yours feels very magic based, the spiritual based things that I was getting, like I said, you'd have a very good knack for astrology and things, but I'm not getting a lot on like core values or anything like that coming from the spiritual side. So it might be that your magic is used more as a tool. Not everyone is super spiritual when it comes to their magic. But that isn't to say that you aren't. It just might not be coming through entirely in this reading. Okay, so we also have willpower, and that makes sense. Willpower is very powerful. If you think of magic, it's basically directing energy for a specific manifestation or at your own will, right? Energy cannot be created or destroyed, so this is a way of being able to sort of manipulate energy and make it work in your favor. So having willpower in your cards here is just giving me, again, sort of another reason to state that magic is very much based in manifestation for you, or based in trying to use energy to create something that, create a desired result from your own will. And so I don't feel like you're working necessarily with a lot of spiritual, like deities, or like working with gods, goddesses, goddesses, spirit guides, things like that. It feels very much like solo and very much your own, like you really make it your own and put your own stamp on it. And then again, we're getting another showcase of that cycle of the moon. The moon does show up a lot in cards, so again, that doesn't necessarily mean anything if it doesn't need to mean anything for you, but I do see that coming in with that willpower and using the moon to create a desired result for you. So if you haven't been using the moon, if maybe you were really more drawn towards the sun, or you've always been more drawn towards daytime with your magic or things like that, this might be a way to kind of change that up. And it might give you a little bit more of a boost towards all of your magical workings. So with that in mind, I want to look at a Lenormand message. I like these because they give us a little bit more context as well. So do send in your energy through time and space. Always makes a difference. And we'll see what you got here today. So we got the Rider, and it was upside down, so it is giving me this feeling again of slowing down. If you see the Rider, they're very fast, very quick. So there's a lot of messages of advice here, just showcasing like with your magic to slow down, to possibly even start working also with earth magic. Although, like I said, I did feel like earth magic also felt like an uphill battle, so water is maybe a better place for you to go because it's still flowing without being too fast. So take that how it resonates for you, but I do see a little bit more earth. We also have the number 1 as well as the 9 of cups showing up here. So I do feel like you're going to be more fulfilled in your magic when you do slow down. There is also the idea of this Rider being a bard, so they also are very musically inclined and artistically inclined in that way, and there is this rhythm and harmony to the work that they do. So creating more ways to either work with symbolism through maybe adding music to the rituals that you do, having it in the background and being atmospheric towards the things that you're trying to create and manifest. You could also use poetry or singing or something like that to create a little bit more of maybe a ceremony towards what you're doing, creating a little bit more structure towards what you're doing as well. And there is also the idea of maybe even using that as offerings towards anyone you might be working with. Like I said, it does feel more solo, but if that's something you're interested in, maybe that would be somewhere to go. I also felt really called to their patterned pants for some reason. So also what you wear could be really influential in helping you to raise your magic as well, and kind of moving it back into that earthly realm of singing, of dancing, of wearing something to ceremonial, to have like a ceremony when it comes to your magic versus like more folk mundane magic. And then I also got this feeling of like also creating patterns. So again, the idea of a cyclic thing that you continue with your magic to maybe keep you going, where you don't feel like you have to do it all in one go and kind of burn yourself out. So that's what I'm getting also with the Rider. But let's go ahead and get your final card, and then we'll be pulling the charms and the letter tiles and all of that. But if you are enjoying this reading so far, it would be amazing if you could give this video a like. It really does help the channel so much and gives a little boost and everything, and I would really appreciate it. But we are going to go ahead and continue on. So let's see the advice that's coming through here for you. Oh my gosh, you got the moon. There are only a few cards in here that are specifically celestial cards. So we have like the sun and other ones. And you specifically got one of the 4 in the entire deck, and that is the moon. So of course there is again a huge emphasis for you to work with the moon. And I feel like there could be, like I said, this, you're very fiery, you're very fast, you're very intense, and the moon is much slower. It causes you to need to slow down, to take things in. It's a lot more intuitive, right? You have to really feel things out. And so far with your entire pile, I hadn't been getting a whole bunch when it came to how you use your intuition in terms of like your clairs, right? We think of like clairsentient or claircognizant, or however you say it. And basically those just mean clear hearing, clear seeing, clear tasting, whatever it might be for you. But I wasn't getting a ton of that coming through. Like, you haven't really necessarily worked on your clairs a lot, or on the idea of working psychically with your intuitive side of yourself, right? So there is something about maybe using the moon also to really dive into your intuition, dive into dream work, dive into the astral realm, dive into those places that maybe you haven't gone before, maybe shied behind, or felt they were hidden practices to you, and they may be opening up as well. It does feel, like I said, very, very straightforward though as advice to start working with the moon. So maybe having a moon journal would be really useful to you. If you have a personal like period cycle as well, that could be maybe synced up with the moon. These are things that you could start looking into, and how you might utilize and work with your practice a little more in terms of the moon in that watery, intuitive, dream-like state. So with that in mind, with all of your cards, I'm going to go ahead and move on to your charms and letter tiles here. So I love doing the letter tiles, especially with this one, because we tend to get like really nice words. We'll see. I am going to zoom you in though, so you can see a little bit closer as we go through all of this. So let's go ahead and pull you some letter tiles. Okay. So we have, whatever reason I felt zone when I first got in here, like maybe trance work or zoning out in some way. But we have upright, we have Z, O, D, E, maybe like code is also coming through, working with a code. I know it says Z, but still. V, O, A, and E. So let's see here. I'm also getting the idea of like deep is coming through for me as well, like maybe going a little bit deeper with your magic. Maybe you've been doing more like protection work or things that are really good for mundane things, but maybe it could be also using it to dive deeper in your spirituality, understand the universe a little bit more and how it relates to you. There could be something about diving deeper there. Like I said, I did feel this code feeling. I know it doesn't have the C, but maybe that's code. I don't know. But I did get this feeling of like codes, working with codes. So if you do work in a grimoire, you do work with writing, or do work with symbology even, you could use that all the time. So if you want to work more with the moon phases, even just as like a beginner level thing, you could start using those, like writing them in your planner, or putting them on the bottom of your shoe, like a specific specific moon cycle. So like say you're at the first quarter moon, it's all about action, and you want to really put action into your day, whether it's in the moon cycle right now or not. Maybe the moon's at the new moon. But if you want to start bringing in more action to your day, you can use that symbol, write it at the bottom of your shoe, walk it into your day, use it in that mundane way. Or you could, like I said, use different waters. use them in that way. But with the codes, you can also, like, I don't know if you were as a kid ever wrote down like a code and made your own language and like assigned a little symbol to each letter of the alphabet, and then you could write in code and no one would know what you were writing. You might be doing something like that as well within your magic, and might be something to explore, especially for those of you who are maybe in like the broom closet. So that's what I'm getting here so far. I will leave this all here for you though while we look at your charms. So do feel free to send in your energy and we'll pull the charms. These can be usually very personal and specific to you. So I'm going to see what comes through magically and spiritually, but do feel free, as always with all of this, see what comes through and use your own intuition and judgment. Okay, so let's see what you got here. So we have a chess piece. We have specifically the pawn. The number 4, usually 4 represents creating structure of some sort, or working with the 4 elements, working with the 4 quarters, possibly. So we have the 4 element. Could also be angel numbers or other things coming through. That came through specifically with community. So it could be that like I said, you're solo now, but you might be wanting to move into some sort of community that you're working with, or learning a little bit more from a community. I'm going to have a ton of links down below on specific people I've looked up to and listened to when it comes to my own learning with like witchcraft and different spiritual things. So if you want to look into those as well, you can, and maybe look into the community and learn a little bit more. We also have here the little pearl necklace made into a heart. So using your magic for maybe material gain or something on that level, or to manifest something in the physical realm. We also have another heart, so you might be utilizing it a lot, and a lot of people tend to use fire for, passion and romance, but water is actually the more stable, flowing version of that. So if you're looking for a more stable, solid relationship that you're trying to bring out within your magic, that can also be more useful to you. And then we have the dark matter charm, which I find really interesting. This one has a lot to do with space, like the dark matter in space, those unknowns, the things that are very mysterious. So again, astral projection, planetary magic, working with celestial bodies, working with astrology, that kind of interesting side of things. And then you have the flip-flop charm, which does also mean that you might still be trying out a lot of things, right? You're flipping and flopping and trying out a lot of things. Could also be a relation to the beach or a natural body of water again. Seawater, I didn't mention that earlier. I don't live near the beach or the sea, so I tend to forget about it, but you could also use seawater with the salty atmosphere to it, that might be useful for you as well within your magic in those waters that you might be creating. So I will let you have a little gander here and see if there's anything else coming through for you, and you can feel free to pause. Same with all of the cards here. But we are going to go ahead and close off your reading here. Do feel free to check out the other two if you're interested in finding a little more bits and bobs that you've got going on within your magic. But I do hope this was useful to you, and that it stirred up a bit of creativity, a bit of magic, a little mystery and fun. And if you did enjoy it, do be sure to give this video a like and let me know in the comments down below how it resonated. I love hearing your guys' magical practices. I love hearing how you navigate your spiritual side, your psychic gifts. I would love to hear your thoughts. And also, if you're interested in more magical videos, if you're interested in other types of videos for PickACard readings when it comes to weekly readings, monthly readings, and readings in between for timeless readings for love, career, spirituality, and so much more, do be sure to subscribe to the channel as I put out new videos every single Monday, and you can hit the notification bell to stay updated and notified when each of the videos do go up. So that is the rest of the reading, but if you're interested in looking even further, if you want to get a private personal reading with me, you can do that as well through my snail mail readings, which I'll have all of that listed down below on how those all work. They're my favorite types of readings to do. And you can also check out the other magical goods that I create. I create magical spell and ritual paper, which, to be fair, is just aligns a lot with your reading in the fact that it is made using combine water and earth and is a alternative to fire magic. So you can check out all of the information on that down below. I still have some paper sets left for Mabon and throughout the autumn season. But you can also check out the Kindred tip jar and the Instagram community that I have down below, as well, as I'm very active on there, and I'd love to hear more and learn more about your practices there. So I think that's everything. I do love to say all the stuff at the end, so thank you for watching all the way through, and I do wish you a wonderful, magical, spiritual month of October and throughout the rest of the year, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye! Hello Group 2, if you've decided to choose this specific intuitive message as well as this specific piece of Labradorite, then this is the pile for you to look into your magical and spiritual gifts and abilities, how they may be changing, shaping up, how you're maybe moving into magic as a practice, advancing your magic, however you see it. As I mentioned in the previous video, or previous pile rather, this is a collective reading, so you can play around with it however you wish. Do feel free to use your own discernment. If things aren't resonating with you, you can check out another pile or just leave what doesn't resonate. We're going to be touching up on a lot of different topics, so just kind of gather what would be useful to you. This is going to be more of a tool to sort of play around with different ideas, leave what ideas don't resonate, keep the ones that do, research further beyond this video, as it's not going to be fully comprehensive. And if you're interested in looking even further, you can check out my private readings as well, and we can look specifically into you if you want. But we're going to be using the charms, the watercolor affirmations we'll actually be using in a different video. We might pull them out today. We're going to have several different oracle decks, a Lenormand deck, a tarot deck, and we're even going to be pulling the charms with different letter tiles as well on this little contraption here. So if you are settled and ready to go, I'm feeling magically buzzed after the first pile. We're going to go ahead and start settling you in. So do feel free to have water beside you. This might take a lot out of you. I know it will be for me. So feel free to get some water, a refreshment, some food, a nice cozy place to bundle up in, and we're going to get started. So do feel free to send your energy in through time and space. And let's see what magical gifts, abilities, and psychic moments are coming through already for you. They're immediately coming out. A lot of that energy of air coming through immediately. First off, we have the Page of Pentacles. Pages usually represent adventurers, ones who are just beginning in that specific suit. So this is in the earthly suit. So things that are earthly, maybe you're working in abundance magic, prosperity at this time, or possibly even travel. We have a map here as well. So there is this idea of map making in your mind, or utilizing even written word or pictures a lot within your magic. So art magic, abundance, prosperity, those types of things, or just working with the earthly suit or the earthly side of magic, so using the earth elements, so things like working with trees, dryads, working with earth, the mud, the clay, pottery, those sorts of things that are connected, or even crystals. We also have the Two of Swords here, which usually represents indecision within tarot, but there is something about like really trusting your intuition here to really hit the nail on the board there, right? So there is this feeling of needing to really trust your intuition at this time, really being a lot better at, maybe you're doing a lot more trust exercises, or really learning to understand your own intuition, understanding your own clairs. So we'll definitely be seeing if there are any other clairs coming through for you. The idea that they're blindfolded right here is giving you this feeling that you are learning to not just use your clair of seeing, but other clairs like taste and touch and feel and hearing and things like that. So I feel you are almost, maybe you want to stop leaning so much on your just your physical sight and like feeling a card when it comes out, feeling out a practice that you're working on or a working that you're working on, feeling out the spirits around you. So let's see a little bit further. So group 2, what else is coming through for group 2 here for their magical practices, spiritual gifts, abilities, their clairs, psychic gifts, all that fun jazz. What is coming through for them? Group 2. Okay, glad I waited it out. Okay, so we've got air, fire, and earth coming together. Not a lot of water, which if you came from group 1, there was a lot of water in that one. So if you're feeling like you're more in the fiery zone, the watery zone, you can check out pile number 1. But we also have the Ace of Wands here. There's a lot to do with research. Aces are like that first gut, excited, passionate energy. And in this idea of it being in the wand suit with the fire element, it's just kind of explosive and exciting, and just like I feel like you're really in a really good place in your life right now, timing wise, to really start rooting into your magic, especially for abundance and especially for really honing in on your intuitive abilities. So the things that I'm getting, like I said, is kind of moving away from the idea of working with your sight, and I feel like when I'm thinking of that, right, you think of like the kind of analogy of getting into a car and just knowing where you're going because you've done it so many times, or you're getting a lot better at doing it without a map, or doing your magic without a GPS of sorts, right? And the fact that you have 2 maps showing up here, and then them also flipping a coin to figure out which direction they're going to go versus just following the map, is making me think that you're going a little off-road at this time. So if you've always been working with a specific element, this is the time to work with another one. If you're always doing a certain type of magic, this is the time to flip that on its head and see what else there is for you. There is something about feeling really passionate and feeling kind of, I'm almost getting this really giddy feeling in like the back of my, and the like pit of my stomach, like you're so giddy, like a little child wanting to run around and just be free and do something so different. And that's what's coming through, this explosive, giddy excitement, maybe using more humor in your magic. Maybe you've come from a place where like you always followed a lot of rules in the idea of like ceremonial magic, right? Wearing the right garb, wearing, dressing your place, having your altar perfectly set up with this here and everything's always in its place, or following a specific script that you're kind of working through within your entire thing. Maybe you've come from even a specific religion in your background that's kind of created this sense of needing to like follow a rule base behind the things that you do, or even coming from a pagan or a pagan or Wiccan practice that also follows a lot of rules and a lot of ceremonies and a lot of like direction. So I feel like you might be moving away from that and just really trusting your gut when it comes to what you're doing, and kind of not following any rules anymore. And that's what I'm getting here, is there's this really fun, exciting energy to it. So with that said, I do want to look a little bit further, and we're going to be using these spell casting oracle here. These cards are great because they do actually talk about different spell work that you could be doing. So we'll see if any more prosperity or abundance comes through, but let's see what's coming through for you, group 2, within your magical practice, your magical research, learning, growing, and this passion that you have towards your abilities that you're learning and growing in as well with your psychic gifts. So let's see what's coming through for group 2 here. Group 2, what do you got coming through? Feeling a little stubborn, the cards are, so do feel free to send your energy in. It always does help a lot. So group 2, what do we got? Okay, so we have lighten your load, which I think is really interesting. It has, again, the idea of a map with the earth here, but the earth is like warped. I'll pick it up so you can see, but the earth is like super warped, and you can almost feel like there's just like, here's your passions that you're holding, and this is the weight of like what you used to be doing. And there's also maybe this feeling that you're feeling like you have to use your magic not for yourself, but for selfless reasons, for activism or other things, and that's like the only way to use it, or to use it never for personal gain or something like that. But this is showcasing that maybe you might be moving away from that, changing your ideas on that. That's what I'm getting from this, beyond just lighten your load, just from the imagery alone. But lightening your load can also just be talking to also yes, trying a ton of different things, but once you have tried a bunch of things, kind of narrowing it down to what works for you as well, to make sure that you don't feel like overwhelmed by your options too, which could happen from all of this as well. I also see a lot of like ceremonial magic moving away from, but also maybe playing around with more of that play around like a fire. So maybe using the fire element even more in the idea of like bonfires or those sorts of things. But yeah, I'm definitely getting this feeling of getting off of the script that you've been on before if it's not working for you anymore. If it's feeling stagnant and stale, then it's just not the place for you. So let's see a little bit further here with these Lenormand cards. They love to give us a lot of context as well. So we have the bear, interesting, the number 15 with the 10 of wands here. The 10 of wands was also in the first pile in case, again, you needed another reason to maybe check that one out. I don't know why, I just feel like some of you maybe did feel like there was either a bit of both or a hopping over. But we do have the number 10 and 15 with the bear. The bear is crossing a river with a resource of the idea or sustenance or some sort of nutrients, right, that they're holding on to as they cross this river. And what I'm getting here is the idea that, like, again, you having to cross that river, having to do it without, like, they do have their eyes open, they are looking, but I really do feel them, perking up their ears, sniffing the ground, making sure that things are good. So maybe also when it comes to like your magic, beyond just using your intuition for personal gain of other things like these resources, but also like using it to maybe even protect yourself as you cross rivers and you cross new lands and cross new places. If you're not going to be using that map as your way of protecting yourself, then this is another way of doing that. So really trusting your intuitive gifts are coming through. And I feel like you don't have one specific one that's coming through more than others, but you definitely do have the idea of moving away from only just seeing and really listening and smelling and tasting and really feeling the energy around you, and getting a little bit better at that within your own energy sensing. So we do have all of the elements showing up here. We have earth, we have air, we have fire, we have water, all of that's coming through. And so again, with that light and that load, with all of the elements being within the earth here, there can be, again, that feeling of needing to not overwhelm yourself with maybe too much that you're excited about. And that's coming through once again. So let's go ahead and see a message here from the Prairie Majesty Oracle. We're going to look for a specific message of like advice moving forward because, like I said, you have a lot on your plate, which is very exciting, but also can make you feel really full. So let's see what's coming through for any advice for group 2 here on their new path or continued path within their magic, their spirituality, their psychic gifts and things. So let's see, group 2. Do feel free to send your energy in. Group 2. So we have takeover. Interesting. It is time to reclaim and reinvent the structures in my life. Of course, right? That's totally what we've been talking about. Not too much that we need to talk about more on this. Because, like I said, there just felt like there was a structure, a religion, a set of rules, a ceremony you always did. And it's time to just break that down, reinvent it, recycle it, replay it, see what else you can do with it. Because there is that feeling coming through. We have the black-footed ferret here. There aren't any elemental specific things coming through other than the sun up here. So we do have a lot of sun energy coming in with a lot of your cards. So you might be wanting to work more with the sun, especially if you, this feels very opposite to group 2. So I think it's interesting that keep feeling this comparison here, but we do have the stars and the moon still, but I'm feeling really called to the sun for you. So I do feel like you really want to work maybe more during the day. Maybe the reason why you're reinventing a lot of things is because you've come out of the broom closet, or you're being able to be more open about your practice right now. And so you're being able to actually showcase it during the daytime. And that's allowing you to reinvent and restructure the practices that you're doing. And that might be some advice for you to maybe work more during the daytime, or to allow more people to see what you're up to if you feel called and comfortable. But those are all of the cards that I have for you, but we are going to move on to your charms and letter tiles. But if you have been enjoying this reading so far, do be sure to give this video a like. It really does help the channel so much, and I truly do appreciate it. So thank you to everyone who's stopped and given a like to this video. I really do appreciate it, or let me know any feedback down below. But we are going to go ahead and move on to your letter tiles. So we're going to see any names, dates, places, ideas, abilities, whatever comes through. So let's see, group 2. I think there's more. Okay, immediately I got biz, like business, and that's making me think again of that prosperity, that abundance, wanting to work within either your business, to help within your business, or to help in that way. So I did get like biz, like business. So we have B-I-Z-D, also bid here, I and P showing up upright, and then the rest of the ones that we have here are D, O, X, and T. Whenever I see the X, it makes me think of like X marks the spot again, that map kind of message, finding that treasure, but maybe through a more intuitive lens. I'm also seeing bit here, like taking one bit at a time. I also saw pit, like the pit of your stomach, more of that feeling. I also am not seeing anything that says like see or hear. We do have lots of eyes for, again, seeing with your eyes, but maybe not using it so much, just using it a little bit. I also see did here, which makes me think also if you have had a practice in the past or this isn't new for you, it could also be that maybe going back to some of those practices to restructure them, not only in like the spiritual or religion sort of sense, but just in general, if you've always done a specific element or always worked in a specific way, maybe it's just to go back into that and reinvent it and not necessarily fully get rid of it. So there is something about that showing up here. Maybe working with stuff around your ex. I also saw like PT, like personal trainer, like maybe you're going to ask for mentorship possibly as well, and these might give you some initials, but I am going to go ahead and leave it at that, and we'll go ahead and move to your final little messages here from the charms. These usually come out as very personal messages alongside any of the imagery here. Definitely do feel free to use your own intuition, and really work together here and co-create this reading with me, but we are going to go ahead and pull these. So let's see what personal bits and bobs come through for you on your magic here, group 2. Okay, so not too many. We do have the plane. I'll go ahead and zoom you in so you can see a little bit closer here, but we do have the plane here. The plane showcases more of that idea of sort of navigating without a map, and it makes me think of those who had to like use old tools to do that. So it might be that you're looking at more traditional magic or using something that feels more old school in some ways, what I was getting. Maybe not a map in the idea of having to see it, but going back to those old school practices that you used to do to reinvent them. Or it can also talk about, like I said, they were moving on a new path over here. Obviously, maps showcase wanting to move from one place to another. So maybe your practices are changing because you're moving to a new place, a new location, new plants, new flora, new fauna, that kind of stuff. Or it could be that you're going on an adventure, maybe you're backpacking somewhere, or maybe it's to also adventure more with your magic outside of the house, going to the park, going to more national landmarks, going to little places that you feel are like intimate, natural places for you. We also have the arrowhead here charm. So this usually talks about direction. Again, trying to find your own direction, kind of choosing your own compass versus someone else's. There is the idea of the spiritual element coming through here with a spirit guide coming forward for you. So over time you might be meeting a spirit guide or working more with spirits in some way. This could be angels, dragons, with specific spirit guides that are very so specific to you. I couldn't even name them. I have some of those that are my own, and you could also be working with spirit from past loved ones, ancestors, however you see it, but there is something coming through there with two different elements showcasing that spiritual side, that mysterious side. We also have transformation coming in here, so transformative magic as well, metamorphosis. We have the leaf, which showcases trees, growth, working with plants in some way. And then we also have over here the candy cane charm. So whenever I see this one, it makes me think of like candy canes feeling really refreshing, or makes me think of like toothpaste and peppermint. So maybe you're working with things and herbs that are more minty, more fresh in that way. That could be really good for abundance. It also can just showcase holidays and working more with holidays, especially holidays around like bonfires and fire festivals. But as I mentioned before, do feel free to take some time here and see what comes through for you. And you can pause if you'd like, and I'll also lift this up so you can pause here if you'd like as well. But we are going to go ahead and end off this reading. I hope you had fun here with me today, looking at all of your gifts, spiritual abilities, psychic gifts, and things like that coming through. Do feel free to let me know in the comments how it resonated for you. I love hearing how your guys' magical practices work. Like I said, this is just from my perspective as a green eco art witch, but it's really fun hearing how all of you utilize your own magic, utilize your own abilities, how spirituality is in your life. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, or you can check out my Instagram community as well, as that's a great way to connect with me, DM me, or let me know how things resonated. You can also give this video a like, or check out the Kindred tip jar down below as a way to support this channel. You can also subscribe as well, as I put out new videos every single Monday for not only magic, but for romantic messages, career messages, other timeless readings, for your own empowerment, and ones for monthly and 2-week readings as well. So if you're interested in those, I put out new readings every single Monday, so do feel free to subscribe or hit the notification bell to stay notified of when they come up. And if you want to support this channel even further, if you want to go even a step further, you can check out the private readings that I do if you want to look at your specific gifts and abilities, or other things that you're interested in, any queries or questions that you have. Do feel free to reach out, ask questions about them. All of the information will be down below, as well as on my Instagram, for the snail mail readings that I do, where I send a letter to you in the mail. It is typewritten. It's about 3 pages long. It's a lot of fun, and they're all very treasured readings, so do feel free to check those out. Or you can also check out the magical papers that I create as well, utilizing my own magical gifts and art magic and eco magic to create these beautiful offerings for you. So you can check those out down below too. So I do believe that's everything. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and I had so much fun. So I hope to do this again with you soon. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Hello Group 3, if you've decided to choose this specific intuitive drawing as well as this piece of Labradorite, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to set it down right here so you can see it during your reading today, as we are going to be looking into your magical, psychic, and spiritual gifts and abilities coming through, different elements that you're really feeling connected to within your magic, the different workings you could be trying out and playing around with, how your spirituality and your mundane magic might be coming in, as well as the different clairs that you work with. So we're gonna look through all of that using the charms. The watercolor affirmations we'll be playing around with possibly today, but so far not so much. But we are going to be playing around with many different other decks, as well as Lenormand and Tarot, and even going to pull some charms and letter tiles. So I have a lot to play around with here for you guys. I'm feeling buzzing with a lot of energy, and if you are too, then do feel free to settle yourself and get ready for this reading. I have been drinking a lot of water to kind of stay grounded and chill, as it's really fun looking at all of your guys' energy, but it also can take a lot out of me, so I definitely took a little bit of time before your guys', especially since we're at the end here with the third pile, but do feel free to send your energy in, get settled, get ready, and let's go. So Group 3, what do you have coming in for your spiritual gifts, magical abilities, and any clairs coming through? What do we need to know for both advanced and intermediate or beginners within their own workings and craft? So Group 3. group 3. We've got ones just intermingling here. All right, so we have both the King of Cups as well as the Page of Swords. Interesting. We had a page in the last one as well. Pages represent those who are adventurers, the very beginning. So those of you who are maybe coming to this and you don't know anything, I would really focus on this card. Otherwise, if you've been in your own spiritual practice here for a while, there is this feeling of also shifting possibly right now, and becoming more of a student within the air element, things like astral projection, within being a little bit more adept with things like planets, celestial bodies, getting more connected to the idea of spoken word, poetry, writing, utilizing those sorts of things within your magic, as well as like working with air elementals. And then we also have the King of Cups being the master within the suit of the cups. So this tells me that those of you who have been more advanced, you might be moving away from the idea of using water a lot or utilizing that specific element, so the water element. So things like ritual baths, within dream work, within your intuition, maybe moving towards more researched topics to advance your magic. So we're going to look a little bit further here, but there is this feeling of kind of moving away from the water and moving towards the air. But let's see, group 3, what else is coming through here for group 3? Okay, definitely the air. That one got a lot of air when it flew up, but we also have the number 17 and the star. So there is this feeling of kind of connecting with more of that air or spirit. Whenever we get the star, it does also give me this spiritual element. Reminds me of the Northern Lights. I don't know if you guys have ever watched Brother Bear, so it gives me that feeling too of the Northern Lights, or the Aurora Borealis being like a place where our spirit goes. There is this feeling of like moving away from just like the earth and water, the air and water element are not that dissimilar, right? They do play around with a lot of intuitive stuff, a lot of dream work, a lot of that airy, watery, flowing kind of energy. So they're not that dissimilar. So I do feel like they maybe are just teaming up right now within your magic, and the idea that you're working with both. And what I'm getting here is, like I said, you're in a place where you're researching a lot right now. We have a lot of books showing up here, a lot of research, a lot of time on your hands to really direct your energy a little bit more. And I also am getting this feeling, if you've never worked with an athame, that's coming through as well. We have a goblet here. So those of you who are Wiccans may be working more with those sorts of tools when it comes to like reconnecting with spirit. So when I say spirit, I'm talking like spirit guides, those beyond the veil, working beyond the veil, hedge witchcraft. So that's something you could research into. Astral projection, meditational, like journeying, those sorts of things are what's coming through for me. Like there's a lot of that kind of stuff coming through, which is very airy, it's very flowing, it's very much not rooted in like plants or within fire magic or things like that. So that's what I'm getting so far, but I do want to kind of go ahead and move on to your next card and see what else pops through with these, because they do have that floaty element, so I want to see if anything else comes through first. So let's see what's coming through from the Spellcasting Oracle, which sometimes does give you actual ideas for workings you could be working on. So let's see, group 3 here. What does group 3 have coming through with this change of heart towards these elementals, this researching, maybe even just going back a few steps, maybe just checking your work even, really recording a lot of your workings down is also coming through. So group 3, do feel free to send your energy. That always makes a difference and helps quite a lot. So we have blessings in this massive moon here. So more of that dreamy energy. I am getting this feeling that like writing down and recording your workings, but also recording your dreams could be really useful right now for some of you, and working with that side of things. We do have more of those like particles that you see in the air, like when the light is coming through a window and you can see all those little particles in the air. So there is this feeling of like, again, working with that air element, working with those smaller micro things. So like I said, I feel like you're really refining your magic at this time. You're really For those of you who are advancing in it, I would say to really make sure that you know your stuff, get to those nitty-gritty details that you haven't been looking at before, really researching deeper, getting books that you haven't gotten before, getting things that feel a little bit more advanced. That's what's coming through. But those of you who have just begun, like I said, you might be feeling more of that urge to work with a spirit guide or to start researching in general. Things like water could be a really great one for you. And then the idea of blessings is also just within your magic too. If you are working with deities, if you are working with spirit guides, if you're working with loved ones beyond the veil, things like that, then it would be really beneficial to you at this time to begin doing some more gratitude magic. So showing gratitude towards different offerings and rituals that you do within your day-to-day, offering water, moon water. You could be offering different meals and workings towards them. You can offer all sorts of things. You can offer drawings and things like that as well. Because we do have a lot of water as well, it can also showcase a lot of the idea of wanting to work with more artsy things. So like I said, writing, poetry, prose, and those sorts of things might be coming through as well. Like I said, this is giving you jumping off points. So if you have things that are showing up here and you're like, yes, I do want to work with spirit, but I'm not feeling this, then that's totally okay. Do leave what doesn't resonate for you, and play around with the imagery yourself and see what comes through. I do see a lot when it comes to your clairs. I'm seeing a lot of like feeling, like touch being one of your things. Like you can really feel things. You can feel like the wind on your skin when there's no wind around. I feel like you can feel like the breath on the back of your neck kind of feeling. Or I do see a lot with seeing. So I do also think that maybe one of your clairs or psychic gifts would be to having clear seeing, that you might be seeing things that other people don't normally see, that you're seeing things within that air, that unseen element coming through here as well, specifically for you guys. But let's look a little bit further. So I'm going to pull you another card over here. We're going to use the Lenormand deck here. This one usually gives us a little bit more context. So let's see. Okay, so we have the Celtic cross. This just represents structure, religion. It can also represent spirituality as a whole. It does also have sort of an element that I'm getting here of like, again, past loved ones in some way. I feel like they want to work with you or you're wanting to work with them at this time, because I just feel like this is like a ancient little sort of burial ground or burial spot here because of all of this little like lavender popping up. And the lavender relates to dreams, it relates to the unseen, it relates to that astral projection. So again, I think you might be connecting with them through meditation. You might be seeing them a lot in the signs and signals that you're seeing in your dreams, in those journeys that you take. So that might be something to really start working with even more, and inviting them to join you on your dreams, to invite them to join you in those things, to do workings to sort of draw them in if that's something you're interested in doing. Because I do see a lot of energy work happening with the star, right, of drawing energy in and drawing energy out. So I think you're really good with energy manipulation, or that's something that you're working with as well, but specifically in that like astral or even Akashic record kind of realm, if that's something that interests you or excites you in some way. I see that coming through. So let's go ahead and get your advice message from the cards. I almost dropped them, but from the cards here, and we'll see what comes through for you for some advice moving forward. Any advice moving forward for group 3 here? Okay, so we have the trust one. So this is white-tailed deer, and it says, am I honoring my knowing? And this represents, like, it even kind of has the wheel of the year in the background as well, and like trusting yourself through different seasons, and maybe the way that you utilize your psychic gifts also are related to the seasons. So maybe you hear more, you have more clear hearing during specific seasons, where seeing is more. Maybe different spirits even communicate with you in different ways, and that's maybe how you differentiate from them. I got that feeling immediately, but there is this feeling of really trusting yourself, and with magic, right, especially those of us who haven't either done it for a long time, or those of us who just don't have a lot of support around us, or people around us who do a lot of the same things that we're interested in, or don't understand our magic or what we're doing, then it can like make us feel, a little bit down, or like, people don't trust what we're up to, or we can lose trust. We can feel imposter syndrome. We can feel like we're like being silly. And this is just a reminder that you're not being silly, that what you feel and what you see and what you hear isn't silly. It is important to you, and it is impactful to your magic, and you really sense energy really well. You're very in that intuitive element of water and air, so that communication really can come through for you. You'd be really good with mediumship and things like that, and to just trust the messages that come through for you, and that it's not silly. It does resonate. You guys might even be good for divination as well. It doesn't really come through, especially with any of the other cards, but you would be probably pretty good with divination if you built this trust as well, and you'd be pretty good with that sort of thing, or even astrology. But before we move on to your charms and things, I do just want to mention as well, just one last thing, is the idea that we have this big moon here, and we have a lot going on with the nighttime. So any deities that might be reaching out to you also might be related to the moon, or related to moon goddesses, or triple moon goddesses, or something like that, or gods. So do feel free to check that out or research that for yourself. But we are going to go ahead and move on to your charms and letter tiles. If you have been enjoying this reading though so far, it would be such a help and would be really appreciated if you could give this video a like. I really would appreciate it so much. It really helps boost up the channel a little bit, as well as letting me know in the comments down below how it resonates for you as we move through this reading. And the Kindred tip jar is down below as well. But we're going to go ahead and move on to your letter tiles. So let's see what's coming through for you within names, dates, places, intuitive elements, all that kind of stuff. So we have F, N, and S showing up here as your main ones. I'll go ahead and zoom you in so you can see a little bit closer here. But yeah, we have F, N, and S. So I got like fins. So again, that watery element, maybe working with spirit guides that are related to the water. So if you believe in mermaids, or water dragons, or something like that is coming through, some sort of tail energy, or just in general working with bodies of water, working with flora and fauna around water, so like seaweed, or working with different fish or things like that. But that's what's coming through. I also see finish, so it might be that you're finishing something, or finishing something about that is coming through as well. So other letters that we have here, F-U-N, fun, so making sure that you're still having fun within what you're doing, and that it comes from a place of passion and fun. We have O and F showing up, as well as E, O, S, M, and E. So I'm getting like funny as well, working with humor within your magic and not making it so intense. You can laugh with your spirits, you can have fun, they can be funny sometimes, right? Like, it doesn't always have to be so like, I am talking to this very intense being, right? Sometimes they make us laugh, and that's their whole purpose. So I also am getting like the idea of Uno is coming through. I don't know why. Maybe that's more of that fun energy, playing games, mischievous energy. Maybe you're working with more mischievous spirits, but not necessarily harmful. I also got osmosis. I don't know why that came through. And then you also specifically have the letters to come in here to showcase C. So there is that feeling again of being able to see, and that being one of your main clairs, of clear seeing, as well as clear hearing. We also have a lot of me. So again, maybe working on your own or solo could be useful to you, as well as with spirit. So trusting yourself to work solo as well. I also just got fume that came through as well, like fumes. I can't fully spell it here, but fumes. So maybe you're also really good with smells. my mom is definitely, I don't have this as much, but she'll just all of a sudden smell something and nobody else can smell it in the room, but it's very intense for her and it means something for her. So that could be something for you as well. Like I said, I feel like yours might be working throughout cycles of the year. So maybe you have more clear seeing during one cycle of the year versus another, different astrological seasons, retrogrades maybe even affect that for you and how you communicate with spirit. I'm not exactly sure, but that is the ones that I have coming through here for you. Let's go ahead and move on to your letter tile, your charms, and we'll finish off with these little bits and bobs. These are usually very specific to you alongside everything else we've had here, but these can be very specific and very personal. So where I may see a snowman as one thing, you might see it very differently. So do feel free to use your own intuition here, but let's see your magical gifts and abilities here, group 3. Okay, so we have 2 bobby pins showing up here. So maybe your name is Bobby, or you know a Bobby or something like that, or you feel pinned down in some way. But the bobby pins usually showcase feeling possibly overwhelmed. So maybe you have a lot you're researching and needing to narrow that down. There also is the idea of the bobby pin being a selfless act. So maybe using your magic in more selfless ways is something you'd like to do, or to help someone else, even advocate for different individuals, because if you've ever used a bobby pin, they kind of hold up your hair without anyone kind of, very humbly, right? They do it as a selfless act. They don't get to be seen, but they're doing all the work. There also is the showcase here of a few grosser charms that I have going on here in the terms that I just probably need to replace them with some new ones. But we have the paper star. Here's another version of it. The paper star, so this is just a piece of paper with writing on the inside, and you could even use these in your magic, right? You can use paper, you can use all sorts of different arts and crafts to craft something up as well. So that might be a route that you might be taking and using more creative art magic, and something to look into. And also this represents transformation as well. This started as a piece of paper and you transformed it into something else. You put your energy into it to really manipulate that energy and create a desired effect. So that might be coming through for some of you as a means in which you could do that. You also have the candle here. This is the one that's probably the grossest in my thing, but it's just a wax candle that's been around all of these. But you could be using candle magic a lot more as well, or using fire even within paper, and kind of bridging those two, wax seals, and then this is also giving me more of that idea of wax seals. It kind of looks like a wax seal. It also has more of that goddess energy or goddess energy, so that might be something to look into as well, that we talked about earlier, or the idea of working with more of those types of spirits. And then lastly here we have the bee. This is usually the busy queen bee. So it could also be something else that's showcasing here specifically for you. Maybe you know someone who reminds you of bees, or you had someone in the past, a past loved one that was related to bees or something like that. So that might be very specific to a few of you. So those are all of your charms and cards here. I'll let you have a second to pause if you'd like to look at all of them. But I do hope you had fun here with me today and enjoyed this reading. If you did, do be sure to hit that like button and let me know in the comments down below. Truly, I have such a blast, especially with this one, because a lot of you tend to tell me about your own practice, the magic that you get up to, and as a practitioner myself, I only do certain types of things myself, so it's really fun to see how you guys utilize and inspire me even within my own magic. So do be sure to let me know in the comments down below how this resonated and what you get up to within your practice. You can also subscribe if you haven't already, as I put out new videos every single Monday for love, career, spirituality, these more magical readings, especially with this spooky month. So do feel free to stay tuned by subscribing or hitting the notification bell to stay notified of when those go up every Monday. And you can also check out the Kindred tip jar down below. You can check out my Instagram community, as that is where I showcase a lot more of my personal magic, my personal practice, and have a lot of fun over there with tarot and other fun oracles, and have a lot of fun with all of you, as I've met so many of you over there. So that'll be down below if you want to join in on that little community. And you can also check out the offerings that I provide, which are snail mail readings. So if you're interested in a private reading that I send to you in the mail, it's typewritten on a vintage typewriter and all that fun jazz. All the details will be down below. But if that's something you're interested in, to look into any query, theme, or question, or even into more of your magical dabblings, then do feel free to check those out. And you can also check out the handmade magical spell and ritual paper that I create, which I think is funny because you actually got stuff about paper. And I personally I can't really use a lot of candle magic where I live, so I love using paper as an alternative for candle magic. So if that's something that you're interested in, all the information on that will be down below, as well as I have some autumnal sets down below. So I do think that is everything. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I had such a blast, and I hope you did too. And I do truly hope to see you in the next one. Bye.